Yo, what's going on, buddy? This is Dylan Talk Sports. My name is Dylan. In this video, what we're going to be doing is this is my NFL Week 16 game reactions, kind of going through, giving a quick review of every single game, kind of how they went, of if the good things, the bad things, kind of getting just a quick summary, about 30 seconds to a minute of just kind of how every single game went. We had some good games, some bad games, some Christmas Day games, Christmas Eve games, a lot of Christmas Eve games. The Christmas Day games, the first one was great, the second one was mid, the third one, we're going to talk about it, but there's a lot to get into, so without further ado, I'm going to stop rambling. If you're going to enjoy it, as always, make sure you go and drop a like. Very much appreciate if you do so. And without further ado, let's get into it. First up, we got Saints and Rams. This game was a little bit back and forth. In the beginning, I mean, you can kind of look at the right here, the scoring summary. It looked like the Rams were just going to kick the shit out of the Saints, but then the Saints started to crawl their way back. It was more or less garbage time points. I think the Rams were just giving up. At that point, they were just hoping, defense, can you just slow them down, make them take a long time to score, and let's just get out of here without any blemishes, with injuries. Quick summary of the game, I would say the Rams, they are very dangerous right now. If any NFC team thinks that they're gonna, oh hey, we get the Rams the first round, easy win, we're good. No, the Rams are dangerous. I think Matthew Stafford is playing well. I think Puka Nacua is playing well. Cooper Kupp, we already know what he can do. The whole team is just cooking with hot oil. When we look over at the New Orleans Saints side of things, Derek Carr, he played okay. It's just that entire first half, he couldn't do jack shit. And then it took them almost to the fourth quarter where they finally started to do something. A big issue they have is they cannot run the ball. Alvin Kamara, 9 carries, 19 yards. This team just can't run the ball anymore. But looking at both teams' standings, New Orleans, they're 7-8. Maybe they make the playoffs. I think right now, at this point, everybody's just kind of marking in Tampa Bay as being the 4 seed in the NFC playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if New Orleans or even Atlanta, we'll talk about Atlanta later on, if one of them can creep back up there and win the division. But New Orleans, like I said, they better fix that run game or else they ain't going nowhere. Next up, we got Bengals and Steelers. This game was just, like, I did not know what was going to happen in this game. I thought it was going to be a close game, maybe like a 17-13, 14-10 type game. It was going to be just like a low-scoring game. We saw it last time when they played. I think it was like 13-10. Correct me if I'm wrong. 11-34. Holy fuck. We had Mason Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer coming out here playing a couple days before Christmas, and he looked like fucking prime Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, just gunslinging that shit down the field. George Pickens, 4 catches, 195 yards, 2 tutties. The dude was just doing everything in this game. And when I say everything, I mean everything of importance. He had the one catch all the way down the field. Then he had another one all the way down the field. Then he had a third one down the field where he had to catch it and kind of get his feet tippy-toed on the sideline. The dude was just making insane catch after insane catch after insane catch, and by the time he was done with those 4 catches, the score was out of reach, and they were just on cruise control. The Bengals, the only thing they did all game long was they had this one good drive here where they went down and got a field goal, and then other than that, they had the one broken coverage from the Steelers that allowed them to get the 80-yard pass touchdown down the field to T. Higgins, and after that, nothing. They couldn't run the ball. Jake Browning had a lot of misses in this game. He had a bunch of throws where, like, you kind of saw where he wanted to go with the ball, but the defense just crashed in. They caught the pick, and it just made Jake Browning's life a living hell. Looking at the standings for both teams, I think Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, they're both in the spot where it's like they could make the playoffs. It's just, I think they both have to, like, for both teams, they have to obviously win out. And then I think for Cincinnati, they're going to need Pittsburgh to lose a game. And then I think, like, there's like 2 other teams kind of like within the AFC South, they need to lose games. And with Pittsburgh, they need to win out. And then I think as well with the AFC South teams, they need at least 2 or 3 of those teams to pretty much lose out in order for them to get that last spot. Next up, we got Bills and Chargers, 24-22. It was a close finish. I was getting interested in this game. I didn't watch it. It was on Peacock. I don't got Peacock, but I saw some of the highlights, and Josh Allen, he didn't look himself in this game. I'm not gonna lie. There were some moments in this game where, especially, I think it was the third quarter, where he had some opportunities there. It's just he was trying to do too much scrambling. There was one point where they were back to like the 15-yard line, like third and 17. And he was just like scrambling, and like there was nowhere to throw the ball to. And what did he do? Instead of trying to just scramble off and throw it out of bounds, he just kept looking, and the running back or the tight end, whoever was sitting there like maybe 5 yards in front of him. Just check it down, let him go get 5 or 10 yards. If it's 4th down, who cares? Punt the ball. You were up by like 8. Live to see another day besides letting your punter have to punt it from inside his own end zone. The thing with the Bills is their offense, it looks good in every single game in the first half, and especially the first quarter. But then once we get into the third quarter and the fourth quarter, the offense just seems like it hits this rough patch, and then they wait till like late game fourth quarter to just shoot to the skies. And that's what they did. They came out early. They started off hot. They were doing good, but then when the other team started to do bad or started to do good, and their Bills defense was crumbling. And don't get me wrong, the Chargers, when Brandon Staley got fired, I feel like the Chargers have a new life kind of in them of where they're playing football with more energy. They played good. The problem was the Bills, they had enough time there at the end of the game to go down and get a field goal. Looking at the standings, Bills, I think they need Miami to lose one game, obviously, and then they could build Buffalo that last game of the season would be for the division. So Miami, I think, plays Baltimore. If Miami loses to Baltimore, that last game is going to be interesting. When it comes to Los Angeles, they are done with the playoffs. They're already eliminated. At this point, they're just kind of just seeing what they have. They're just playing a bunch of random dudes, just trying to see who's on the roster and who can contribute to next season. But they're at this point just looking for a new head coach. We got Washington and New York Jets. This was the game that everybody thought, who the fuck cares about watching this game? This is like the toilet bowl. It turned out to be a pretty good game. You had the Jets coming out early, just kicking the shit out of Washington, 7-27 at halftime. Everybody's thinking, this game is just horrible. And then what happened to Washington? Washington is supposed to have Sam Howell, Eric Bieniemy being the mastermind of the offense. What the fuck's going on? Little did we know, they weren't going to show up till halftime. And the New York Jets, this team that's supposed to be the top 5 defense, they looked like it in the first half. But when we got to the second half, oh my God, where were they? Where are you? The Commanders were able to go down and get that late touchdown at the end of the fourth quarter. And I thought that moment, oh my God, this is it. Jets are not going to be able to win this game. This is going to be like the epic crumble that we're going to see out of the Jets. And what do? Late game heroics. They were able to get down that field and kick the 54-yard field goal. And I'm not going to lie, that sucker looked like it was going to the left. It just snuck in that post. I know the fans of the stadium all watching that ball travel was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then yes, it went through. Wrapping up this game, looking at the standings, 4-11 for Washington. They're done with the playoffs. They're probably going to draft a quarterback next season. I'm hearing suspicions of them possibly trading up to the number 1 pick if they don't get the pick through just them sucking enough. And they'll trade up and try to go get Caleb Williams. I don't know if that's accurate, but I have heard rumors about it. And looking at New York Jets, 6-9, they're not going to the playoffs. I think they're already eliminated. At this point, I think they're just kind of playing for pride. They're just hoping that Aaron Rodgers comes back next season. I don't think they really care what happens this season. They're just trying to get the season over as fast as possible so they can get Aaron Rodgers back next season and go from there. We got Cleveland and Houston, 36-22. I'm a Browns fan, for those of you who do not know. So I have a full kind of complete breakdown of this game for me breaking down this game. If you want to check out that video, I'll put it in the top right part of the screen. Like I said, I'm a Browns fan, so I went full in depth, about 10-15 minutes long, I think, the video, just kind of breaking down this game. But just a quick summary, Joe Flacco is fucking him. This defense is legit, and Amari Cooper is daddy. I don't know how else to summarize it, but that's the best way I can do it. 11 catches, 265 yards, 2 touchdowns, 27-42, 368 yards, 3 tutties, 2 interceptions. The 1 interception is kind of on Joe Flacco, more or less because he tried to throw a deep post to Marquise Goodwin. If he would have put another 2 or 3 yards on it, Marquise Goodwin would have caught it. He kind of underthrew it, bad throw. And then the second interception was him because we didn't have a kicker in that game. Our kicker went out in the second quarter for because of a blown coverage kickoff return that we allowed, and Dustin Hopkins tried to make the tackle, got hurt. Kicker no more in that game, so we had to go for 2s. We had to go for every single 4th down in that game. But it was a really good game. Looking at Houston, I mean, they didn't have CJ Stroud. Well, what did you expect? If you were a Houston fan, you had hope that maybe you can win this game. But when you're looking at it with no CJ Stroud and the way our defense has been playing, you aren't winning this game. Looking at the standings, Cleveland's 10-5. We were really hoping that San Francisco would have beaten Baltimore. But if Baltimore loses to Miami, Miami would then go in the first place for the 1 seed for the AFC, which I don't really care if they get the 1 seed. I don't want Baltimore having the 1 seed. And if that happened, Baltimore, if they go backwards 1 game, Cleveland wins against the New York Jets, Cleveland would be 1 game back of the division. And then Cleveland, if they beat Cincinnati next week, and Baltimore loses to Pittsburgh, the Cleveland Browns are the AFC North division champs. And then getting over to the AFC South, looking at Houston 8-7, they're in that 3-way tie for the division. Win out, you win the division. I think CJ Stroud's coming back this week, so they should be good there. And if they don't win the division, getting the playoffs is going to be rough because they're kind of in that, like I said, the tie now with Jacksonville, Indianapolis, Houston, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati. You don't want to be involved in a tie. We got the Colts and we got the Falcons 10-29. Minshew Mania, the magic of Minshew is running out. Jonathan Taylor did not run the ball that well, and their defense, it played like trash. Looking at the Falcons, Taylor Heineke had a game. Taylor Heineke, the thing with him is he's going to have his ups, but he's going to have his downs. This was an up. Next week might be a down. So Falcons fans, get ready. Bijan Robinson ran the ball well. He also received the ball really well. Kyle Pitts, he caught our touchdown. Falcons fans, cheer for him. Other than that 1 score, it was just a lot of field goals going on for the Falcons. They got that 31-yard run, as you can see here by Tyler Alliger. But other than that, a lot of field goals. This was a very so-so game. I mean, it doesn't really impact anything for the rest of the NFL other than the Falcons. They stay in their division race, and the Colts take a step back in their division race. But, I mean, looking at the standings, like I said, Colts, 8-7, win out, you win the division. Lose a game, you're in that 3-way tie for the wild card, that last wild card spot. Looking at Atlanta, same thing. Win out, you might win your division. Lose a game, you're fucked. We got Seattle and Tennessee. Let's just go straight to the end of the game. That game was fucking nuts. Well, kind of looking at the beginning of the game, Derrick Henry played well. He ran the ball. He threw the ball. He threw a touchdown. Tannehill, I mean, he played mid. He just kind of was in that role to just don't fuck up the game. Switching over to Seattle, they played well. Geno Smith came back. He played well. He had a couple of touchdown passes. He had the one at the very end of the game. Like I said, let's go to the very end. Tennessee had the ball. They went down there and scored. As you can see here, Derrick Henry ran in for the touchdown. Seattle had the ball. There was a moment where I thought Seattle was going to get fucked in this game. Literally, I know it was going to go for Tennessee getting fucked. I want to say it was like a 40-yard pass that got called defensive pass interference. It was very ticky-tacky, but it was kind of pass interference. The defender, the Seattle guy was going to catch the ball, and the Tennessee guy got there early, swatted his arms. It's pass interference. I will say that. But once that happened, it did get to like 3rd and goal. Tennessee was making a stand, but then they just... I think Geno at that point, he just said, fuck it, I'm going to go. My guy's bigger than your guy. Told his tight end, just run about 2 yards, stand up, jump, and I'm going to just high point it for you. And that's exactly what he did. He did like a high point back shoulder throw. Tight end turned around, caught it with his chest, and it was a touchdown. I kind of feel bad for Tennessee fans because they're kind of getting this treatment of this season where they're having a lot of close games and they're not winning any of them. But moving on forward with the teams, Seattle, they're 8-7. They can still get that wild card spot, I think, as long as they win out. If they lose a game, they're kind of in a rough spot, I think. Looking at Tennessee, they're done with the playoffs. At this point, I'm just curious, are they going to fire Mike Vrabel? That's the big thing. Are they going to fire Mike Vrabel, or are they going to go another year with him? Next up, we got the division champs, Detroit Lions. I said that correctly. The division champs, NFC North champs, Detroit Lions have won against the Minnesota Vikings, 30-24. Jared Goff played good. Jahmyr Gibbs ran like a madman, and Amon St. Brown did amazing. Now, I don't want to take credit away from the Minnesota Vikings. They played well as well, or good as well. It's just their quarterback play was not it. 22 of 36, 411 yards, 2 touchdowns, but the 4 interceptions, it added up. Because when you think about it, those 4 interceptions, and some of them were in like down inside the field goal range, so like you're taking points off the board. He just had one of those like 50-50 games where it's like 50% of the time he was good, 50% of the time he was bad. Minnesota also didn't run the ball that well, so they, like I said, they were forced to throw the ball a lot. But, I mean, looking at the Lions, division champs, congratulations. First time in, what, 30 years? Dan Campbell, he cried in the press conference. A couple players, some of the veterans of the team that's been there for like 6, 7, 8 years, they came up and got their round of applause. I congratulate all of them. Good job on winning the division. I mean, looking at the standings, like I said, Minnesota, you're probably done with the playoffs. I think at this point, you're just not going to go anymore. Detroit, you're 11-4. They have a slight shot. I think it's like 8% chance, but because they would need San Francisco and Philadelphia to lose another game, and Detroit obviously went out in order for Detroit to win the 1 seed. But it's possible. Look at the Packers and the Panthers, 33-30. Jordan Love played okay. Bryce Young played really well. Bryce Young is starting to really develop into a great player. Aaron Jones, the running game for the Packers, was exceptional. He played great. The thing with this game was it got down to the last second. The Panthers had the ball. They were going down to kick a field goal. I mean, as you can see here, the Packers scored a field goal with 19 seconds. The Panthers had the ball. They got into field goal range, near field goal range. I think it was like the 40, 39-yard line. In field goal range. 7 seconds was ticking. They got up there. They were about to spike it. Just as Bryce Young was about to get under center, there was like 2 seconds. The ref was running away. 1 second. And then that clock struck 0 as he was snapping the ball. At that point, I kind of wish there was like a rule that tells these players, or like the refs could like, or the head coaches could like be telling the guys in the play call, or in the for the play call in the helmets, they could be looking at the clock, realize there's no time, and like holler out like 911, as in, there's no time. Don't even spike it. Just Hail Mary that shit. Because in that moment, it sucks the fact that you're literally spiking the ball, hoping you get that 1 second for the field goal. But in reality, you spiked the ball with 1 second. But when you went to when you hiked the ball, there was 1 second. But when you went to spike it, there was 0 seconds. So you basically just screwed your game. But I mean, going forward, like I said, this game didn't really mean much for anybody. Green Bay 7-8. They have to win out to make the playoffs, and they would need a lot of teams in front of them to lose. Obviously, in Carolina, the more you lose, the better you're getting for Chicago Bears to get that 1-over pick. So keep losing, Chicago fans. They're happy for you. We got Jaguars and Bucks. I'm not really going to talk about this game much because I didn't really pay attention to it too much. I wasn't really focusing on it. Jaguars, from what I saw, he played bad. Baker Mayfield, he played amazing. Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers, they came in hot on the offense. I mean, you can see it down here. They were just cooking straight up with hot grease the whole entire time. It got until the late third quarter, fourth quarter, where Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars were finally starting to kind of get something rolling, until Trevor Lawrence, I think, got benched, and C.J. Beathard came into the game and had to start playing for him. I think it was a shoulder injury, or his left shoulder. He went for a late in the third quarter. He tried to go get a first down and a fourth down. Got shoved out of bounds. His shoulder kind of hit the ground, so that was rough to see. Overall, for both teams, Jaguars, they just did not come to play in this game, and Buccaneers, they just did everything correct. Looking at the standings, Jacksonville 8-7. Win out and you win the division, lose a game, it's going to get rough, and I do not think they can win in the wildcard round, or they could, because I think they do have a win over Pittsburgh, and they do have some wins over Indianapolis already, so they are kind of in a good spot, but you obviously want to win out. Next up, we got Arizona and Chicago, 16-27. Justin Fields played pretty good. I'm not going to lie, he played good. He ran the ball some moments in this game, and that's what we've been waiting for him to do. Arizona, I mean, they're 3-12. Kyler Murray, he's just playing to have fun at this point. They're not really looking forward to doing anything. They're just going to be getting a draft pick in this upcoming draft. Maybe draft Mario Harris Jr. Maybe. That seems like the most obvious spot for him to go. Give Kyler Murray another weapon to throw the ball to. But I mean, looking at both teams, they don't really care what's going on. I'm not really going to talk about it too much because I didn't really pay attention too much to what was going on in the game. Arizona 3-12, like I said, they're just looking forward to the draft. Chicago 6-9, they're looking forward to the draft as well. We got the Cowboys, we got the Dolphins 20-22. This game was actually a little bit exciting. I thought this game was going to be a high-scoring battle until we got to like the third quarter, and I realized, okay, no, it's not going to be that, because I saw all these field goals coming up on the board, and I was like, okay, yep, these defenses are legit. This was the battle of the Fraud Bowl. The Dolphins cannot beat a team that has a record above 500. The Cowboys cannot beat a team on the road. Something had to give, and the Cowboys ended up folding in this game. The Dolphins played pretty okay on offense. They didn't really do too much flashiness until the fourth quarter when they finally had to go down there and get that field goal. When the Cowboys scored that touchdown and went up by 1, I was thinking to myself, oh my god, are the Cowboys really going to do this? Are they really going to win this game? Dolphins got the ball back. They went down the field, and it was like every single third. The Cowboys got the Dolphins at like 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, but the Dolphins just kept hitting the first downs. Obviously, they made that field goal. Dolphins ended up getting sad. They had to go home. And Dolphins, they clinched their spot in the playoffs. Looking at the standings, Dallas 10-5. They're now in a rough spot to win that division unless Philly loses another game. I think even if Philly loses a game, I think that obviously they might actually win the division still. Dallas, they're probably going to end up with that 5 seat in the wild card spot. And when we look at Miami, I think if they win this week against Baltimore, like I said earlier, if they win this week against Baltimore, they clinch their division. If they lose, Buffalo's right there saying, hey, you remember us? We're coming for that division now. We got the Patriots and the Broncos 26-23. This game was a snore fest for like the first half. Obviously, 3-7. Who the fuck cares? But then once we got into the third quarter, the Patriots, they started cooking up the offense, and they were just scoring, non-fucking stop. Then we got to the fourth quarter. Broncos started to do a lot better. They were going for 2. They got the game tied back up. But then they gave the ball back to the Patriots. Patriots didn't do anything. They punted the ball back to the Broncos. Broncos didn't do anything. They punted the ball right back to the Patriots. And then from there, it was like 3rd and 7. Everybody was thinking, okay, Bill Belichick, he's settling for overtime. Fuck that. He's going back shoulder to Devontae Parker for 30 yards. First down at like the 40-45 yard line. And they just started doing everything they could to get the ball down the field. They got down the field goal range. They went down, made that 56-yard field goal. It was pretty fucking unreal. I'm not going to lie. I'm actually surprised he made the field goal because when the kicker was getting hyped up to make the kick, they showed earlier on the game where he doinked the shit out of one kick on an extra point, I believe, and then he missed another field goal. So him making that field goal, it was a huge kind of momentum swing for that kid. Looking at the standings for both teams, New England 4-11. Obviously, we know they're not going to the playoffs, but at this point, it's just kind of like a boost of momentum for Bill Belichick to maybe people have been talking about. If he wins out and wins 2 more games, goes 6-11, could Robert Kraft take back the decision of firing him? Maybe. And then looking at Denver, they had the possibility of if they would have won this game, they would have been 8-7 with the possibility to go win the division. But now that's kind of out the door. Look at the Raiders and the Chiefs, Christmas Day game, first game of the day. Raiders, they didn't do anything on offense. The big reason why they won this game, a fumble by Mahomes inside like the 20-yard line that the Raiders picked up and ran back, and then he picked 6 from Mahomes that the Raiders once again ran back for a touchdown. There wasn't really a lot of offense in this game. I mean, when you look at the scoring, the Raiders, they scored 14 points on defense. 6 points, meaning just basically the 2 field goals, is all they score when it comes to their offense. Chiefs made the game interesting. They got the game back to about 6 points there in the late in the game, and I was thinking when I was watching this game, I was like, here we fucking go. Chiefs are going to come back down here. They're going to make the comeback, and they're going to win this game. Raiders got that ball back. First down. They went 2nd and 4, and I was thinking, okay, there's a good play. 2nd down. Holy shit, dude got shot out of a cannon. About 40 to 50 yards down the field. And I knew right there. I was like, game over. That's it. He's going. And then the next play, I think it was like another 10, 15, 20 yard run. And right there when he got that first down, it was 2-minute warning. Chiefs had no timeout. And I was like, that's it. 3 knees and let's go home. Obviously, if you're a Chiefs hater like me or you're just like a Raiders fan, you love this game. If you were a Chiefs fan, you were watching this game, but look beside yourself just thinking, what the fuck are we doing? It was a very odd game looking at this game because we are so used to Mahomes and the Chiefs just being so good on offense. Like, it was just very odd to watch. Looking at both teams' standings, Kansas City, like I said, 9-6, Vegas 7-8. I think Kansas City's pretty well locked up this division. I realize they haven't locked it up yet, but Vegas or Denver would have to win out, and Kansas City would have to lose out. I don't really see that happening. And with Vegas, I don't think they can make the wild card spot anymore. I think they have to win out, and like I said, they're gonna need a lot of teams in front of them to lose out in order for them to make a wild card spot. And with Kansas City, they're probably just gonna win the division. We got the Giants and the Eagles, 25-33. This was actually a fun-ass game. I know I said in the intro that it was kind of a snooze fest, but I'm kind of lying there. It was pretty fun. I expected this game to just be a blowout. I thought it was going to be a blowout when we were watching the halftime, 3-20. I was like, oh, here we go. Blowout. Probably going to finish up like 6-34 type victory. Little did I know they were going to bench Dame DeVito and they were going to put in Tyrod Taylor who was going to come out here and just put up an amazing comeback. I mean, you had Saquon Barkley run on the ball in the first couple plays in the second half. Then they got a pick six, ran it back for a touchdown, 2-point conversion. Then the Eagles got a couple field goals. You were thinking, okay, just kind of feeling it out. Got a field goal, got the touchdown. Like, my bad. Straight out of the fucking score from the Eagles going 18-30, Tyrod Taylor said, fuck running the ball, playing it easy. I'm chucking it deep. Chucked it deep, got the touchdown, went and got the extra point. Eagles got the ball back. They went down, got that field goal. But then Tyrod Taylor just said, fuck throwing, screw just playing safe. I'm throwing it deep again. And he did. Got him all the way down the field goal range. They were like 25-yard line. Ended up being like I guess you could say like a kind of a Hail Mary, even though it was only from the 25-yard line, but they couldn't just take a field goal. So he just chucked it into the end zone, didn't get caught, and that was it. Looking at both teams, I mean, the Giants, they played good. I'm not gonna lie. Even though they're not in the playoffs, they played with some heart. And looking at the Eagles, people were talking about the Eagles finally got their get back, or they kind of fixed some things. I don't really think so. I think they played good in the first half, like you saw that they kind of figured out what they need to do. But in that second half, it just like everything went straight out the door. I mean, looking at the standings, like I said, New York 5-10, they're not going to the playoffs. Eagles 11-4, they need to keep this pace up of like what they were doing in that first half. The second half, their secondary was just getting cooked. If they can fix that, they'll be good. But like I said, 11-4, win out, you win the division. I think get the 1 seed, maybe not, because I think 49ers will still have that head-to-head over you. You at least can win the division. And the last game of Monday Night Football was the Ravens and the 49ers, 33-19. Brock Purdy. What the fuck was that? Everybody was on the Brock Purdy chain. Everybody said Brock Purdy was so good. He was the MVP front runner. He was the new kid on the block. He was going to be the new thing in the NFL. 4 picks, and I'm going to talk about them all. First pick, it was, I think RG3 talked about it being like cover 4. You're supposed to stare off the receiver, the safety, to look over to the right, and then you get that receiver coming in. You throw it there. What does he do? He just stares at the safety. He does nothing to him. The safety just stands there. The receiver comes in, and Brock Purdy throws the ball straight to the safety. The next pick gets picked up in the air when he was trying to throw a screen pass to Deebo Samuel. Gets popped up in the air, intercepted. The next pick was Kyle Hamilton getting bulldozed by Trent Williams. Kyle Hamilton gets up, runs over, couple holding calls from Brock Purdy. You would think, okay, dude, you see these holding calls. Why are you even going to try to complete a pass when you're not going to get the first down? Just throw it away. No, I'm going to throw it back across my body to George Kittle, who wasn't even really ready for the football. Gets once again popped up in the air, and there's Kyle Hamilton to catch it again. I don't really remember the other interception, but let's just kind of go through the game. Christian McCaffrey played amazing. Why didn't he get more touches? George Kittle played amazing. Why didn't they scheme more openings for him? It was just a very odd game. I mean, with the Ravens, their defense just kicked the shit out of the 49ers. Usually we expect the 49ers to kick the shit out of other teams. This game was like vice versa. The one funny thing about this game was when the first half, or the first quarter, whenever the ref got tripped up and fell backwards and Lamar got tripped by him and ended up being a safety. That was pretty funny. But this whole game, everybody talking about it being like a Super Bowl preview, was going to be the big game. Everybody was hyped up for it. I'm not gonna lie, it kind of let me down. And it's not because of the fact that the Ravens lost. It's just the fact of I was expecting this game to be like, even if the Ravens won, I was expecting to go to the fourth quarter, you were on the edge of your seat, you were tense, you were excited, be in the final 4 minutes at 1-score game. This is gonna be lit, one of those types of games. But looking at the standings, Baltimore 12-3. You lose out, Cleveland's right there saying, hey, we'll take the division. But if you win this week against Miami, I think you win the division and you get that one step closer to being the 1 seed. And I think you actually clinch the 1 seed over Baltimore or over Miami. And when it looks at San Francisco, 11-4, you, I think, can clinch the 1 seed if you win this week and Philly loses, and as well as Dallas if they also lose. So good things to come for San Francisco, in my opinion. But other than that, that's going to do it for today's video. That's been my full NFL Week 16 game recap of every single game that kind of happened this week. Like I said earlier, hopefully you guys had a happy holidays, Merry Christmas. They were a lot of fun games, and I was pretty excited to see all those games. Like I said, there was just a few that kind of let me down, but week 17 is coming up, so that remains to be seen. But other than that, that's going to do it for today's video. Hopefully you guys did go on to enjoy today's video. As always, if you wanted to enjoy, make sure you go and drop a like. Very much appreciative if you do so. If you watched the entirety of today's video, thank you very much, and you want maybe I missed a detail about your favorite game, maybe I said something wrong about any of these games, or maybe you just wanted to talk about any of these games in particular with me in the comment section down below. Feel free to leave a comment down below. I'll be more than welcome to talk about with you guys, kind of talk about any of these games in general that you want me to talk about with you. If you are brand new to the channel and you want to go ahead and hit that big red subscribe button, feel free to do so, and do not forget to hit that little notification bell to be notified the second I post. But without further ado, this has been Dylan Talk Sports. Have a great day. Peace.